Welcome to Scrappy to Scalable, the podcast where we explore human-centered AI designed to level the playing field, empowering small and mid-sized businesses to compete with the giants.
If you own a small business or a medium-sized business, sales are absolutely critical, and today's guest is an expert in the sales process. Her name is Dionne Mejer, and she's the founder and CEO of Revenue by Design, a consultancy she built after more than 25 years in sales and technology. She's known for transforming B2B revenue teams with a people plus process plus tech approach, and her sales with soul and lead with soul frameworks, which blend hard metrics with human-centered leadership. Dionne has helped organizations reduce ramp time by 33%, lift close rate by nearly 30%, and built multi-million-dollar sales engines from the ground up. Today, we're diving into how SMBs can build real sales capability, create buy-in, and leverage AI without losing the human heart that drives revenue. Dionne, thank you so much for your time and coming on to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I am doing very well, thank you. How about you?
I'm great. I'm excited to chat with you because I've been in sales for 23 years,
Yeah.
and I always super curious to talk with another salesperson and how to streamline sales, because if you don't sell something, you're not going to have business anymore.
That's how that works.
So let's talk about first how you got into your entrepreneurial spirit and your journey to get to the point where you're at now.
First went out of my own about 2014. And at the time, I had a wide and varied career in sales, everything from running a branch office at a staffing firm in Seattle to not-for-profit memberships for the Chicago Software Association, which is a not-for-profit tech association, to, VARs, to I started the first inside sales team for a Microsoft partner where I live now in Southern California. And at the time, as you can imagine, this was about 2007, inside sales
Yeah.
was and has now been like the 40-year overnight sensation in the making. So my journey stems from there at the end of the day. But building the inside sales team, this was really about why aren't we doing this? And working in tech, I saw my tech counterparts using agile methodologies and ways to learn that were completely not being used from a revenue perspective. And so it has been my mission in life to bring those methodologies and the thought process and neuroscience now to the table when working with leaders and talking about their go-to-market strategy, as well as what that looks like to bring their revenue teams along into the 21st century.
Can you break down a little bit of the agile methodology that you're talking about?
So many times when I talk with folks, they think agile equals chaos. And that is not what that is. Because clearly not all of us are engineers or have a program manager or project management background. And agile methodology is a very structured methodology by which you create, based upon a blueprint, the items that are in the blueprint that people want and have. However, you're not building everything until the end, you're building in sprints. And that is a very, very, very oversimplified definition or working version of the agile methodology. So for those of you that are, Six Sigma Agile certified, don't beat me up. But that is how I describe it to people.
Basically, what you're saying, I mean, just what I'm hearing is it's just breaking down a larger goal into smaller chunks that you can execute easily and efficiently.
100%, and see if it works, right? So the counterpoint is the waterfall project methodology, where you're building everything from soup to nuts, and you're like, here, hope you like it, and you should have stopped at the first phase instead of keep going, and now we've got to tear everything down. So that's the beauty of agile methodology is maybe we don't need everything we thought we did. Maybe we really only need the first 20%, and that gets us 80% of the way where we need to go. Do what works within reason and legal guidelines.
So when you're working with a founder and you're getting to that point where you're going in and seeing what their sales process is like, how do you break that down? What are the first things that you look at? What are the metrics that you measure success off of?
Yeah.
And how do you deconstruct and rebuild a sales process?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things with that, Philippe, is one, I always have leaders zoom out because so many times we're down in the weeds with what we're doing, and that's normal, right? It's a very, very natural rhythm for us to get into, and then we get very myopic. And so the framework I have everybody walk through is identify, specify, and execute. And so and I share it with everybody, I'm like, we're going to frame the conversation this way, that we're going to walk through, identify, specify, and execute. So to your point, I'll ask, what are your top three? Let's identify your top three KPIs by which you are running the business. KPIs are not metrics. KPIs are the vital signs. Metrics are everything else. And so we start there. So if you're telling me there's 20 widgets on your dashboard, that's not a dashboard, that is a report. Your dashboard are three KPIs. And it's okay, but you can't make decisions. And so I pursued getting my license as a practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming because I wanted the foundation of neuroscience behind it. And so I have that certification. However, I also study that just because I enjoy it. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that it's it's the semantic of the language that you're using, right?
Right.
So it's not just, okay, when you said KPIs are one thing and the metrics are something else, that was like, oh, yeah, of course it is. But I think you can probably loop them in all into the same category, right?
And most people do, right? How many times have we heard, what are your KPIs and metrics? And I get it. And nobody's doing anything wrong at the end of the day, but our brain cannot process that much data. We're not built for it, literally biologically not built for it. And so when I talk with folks, and even myself, because I run hot too, and I'm like, it'll be amazing. My Sundays, I'm like, I'm 8 projects all at once. It's amazing. Just ask me. My brain will tell you. And I'm like, oh my God. So at some points we could do that, right? But at some points, if I need to run my business and I need to have structure to my day so that I'm not working 18-hour days, we start with identify. What are your top 3 KPIs? And the first one is always revenue. Great. That is a lagging indicator. What are your leading indicators that tell you about the health of the business? Is it proposals out the door? Is it number of net new meetings? What is it? Doesn't matter what it is. There's no right or wrong answer. And in the 11 plus years I've been doing this, that is what people want to hear. You don't need me to tell you what an internet search can tell you, right? Where you need someone like me and others is that coaching component that says there is no right or wrong answer. There's the answer that's right for you. Right? Stop telling me to eat broccoli. It literally makes me throw up. I can't. I've tried. I have tried every which way but Sunday to try to eat that freaking vegetable because it's good for me. Holy banana, right? It's not. My body doesn't like it. And even with that, this is where we start talking with folks where my son is diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And it's been a blessing and a curse and more of a blessing because through that journey, there's a variety of diets out there. Philippe, I had no idea. I didn't know that salicylate was a thing. I had no idea that was even a word until
I don't know what.
I had no idea. All I know is that it's a thing. I'm a bottom liner. And his functional medicine doctor did a test and said he needs a low salicylate diet, to which I said, I have no idea what that is. So do what works for you. And that is really hard for some people because this thing over here told me I should. And I'm like, stop shoulding on yourself. So identify what works for you because when you're in that flow, and you are operating in that intention, good things happen.
So when you say that, I'm hearing you say, work in your strengths.
100%.
Do what works for you. But what if my strengths are not what the sales team needs? So how do you address that? Because I am great with talking to people and great with marketing and sales, but I am horrible at super detailed information or super, really granular, tedious details. I hate. Thank God my co-founder is super detail oriented and super process oriented, and he's in manufacturing for 40 years in operations. So thank God, because that would not be great. When you're dealing with a founder who is going to be true to themselves and works for them, how do you tell them this might not work for the sales process, but it works for you? So how do you get to that point?
Yeah. So to your point, you just covered specify and execute all together, Philippe.
Okay.
And so then we start getting very specific. And part of the reason for the framework is it allows everybody to be very pragmatic and process driven versus people driven. To what you said, I am good at this, right? And so we have a series, I have a series of exercises I have everybody go through at the end of the day that again gives everybody kind of like this, oh, you're good at this and you're good at this, right? And so, but we're looking at it through a very, very pragmatic lens. We're not looking at it from the shame and blame perspective. We're looking at it, and it takes a minute sometimes for our ego to catch up a little bit because we want to be good, right? If I'm the leader, I have to be good at everything. No, there's no law ever that says that. And so again, why I have my life coaching and really focus on the coaching with people is for that reason, because I've been on sales calls literally as of today where the product team is very rational and the buying team was very emotional and neither of the two were meeting. And that's okay,
I mean,
right?
that happens often.
It
Like
does.
you're in a
Yeah,
organization with a lot of different people, a lot of different
100%.
personalities.
Yes.
I mean, just look at me and my co-founder. Like
Yeah.
we're very different personalities.
And I think the key to that is once you start specifying, so let's say you start specifying, you identify the KPIs you need, and now we're going to get into the specify motion. And literally I give people prompts. Like I was way ahead of Chat GPT, so I am way more valuable at the end of the day, where I've been giving people prompts for the last, I don't know, 20 some odd years because we need that, right? And so being able to say with this KPI, great, like let's go 3 questions deep. Let's get really specific on the what, the why, the how, the who. And so once we start building that specificity, we're also taking away ambiguity to that point, right? So within this KPI, I need these components that are going to feed into, I need these metrics that feed to this KPI. Great. How do we do that? Well, we need somebody who's really, really operationally focused. We need somebody who likes detail. We need somebody who wants to literally just sit there and stare at data all day, which is not me and it's not you, right? Great.
Mm-mm.
That is one seat at the table that I know I need. The execute page. And so it's really, so when we start specifying, we're going very deep on those things and we're starting to talk about who's at my table. Because to your point, so many times that helps us remove our ego at the end of the day. And it doesn't diminish what everybody's good at. Doesn't diminish that the founding CEO is a product driven CEO who is wicked smart. It doesn't diminish that. It heightens that. So once we get pragmatic about things and we start being able to look at the people at the seats at our table, we're able to operate at a higher level. It sounds very pie in the sky, but it works. And it also gives us a way to trench when we do get emotional because that will inevitably happen.
So when you're talking about KPIs and the questions that you ask, like what are the typical questions that you're asking in relationship to the KPIs?
So I will ask why that number? How is it important? How are you tracking it today? What do you need to make that number come to life? Is your system giving that to you now? Who's responsible for it? What do you do with it? Because numbers are numbers. It's about the story they tell and what we're supposed to do with it, right? It's kind of like when you go to the doctor and they take your blood pressure. That is a KPI. Everything underneath it, not so much.
I really like when you were talking about being okay, not being perfect. I think that is a really, really important thing to really embrace because so
Yeah.
many people, as founders, you have to be everything. You have to be the CFO, the janitor, the therapist to your employees sometimes. It
Yeah.
just feels like you have to be so many different things. And just giving somebody permission to say, yeah, you don't have to be perfect in every aspect, I think is probably a big relief to a lot of people.
I would agree with you on that. And I think if I had to go maybe deeper on that too, Philippe, I think it's a matter of give yourself a plan, right? So if you are it right now, right? It's you and a co-founder. Divvy it up. Write down the things you're good at. Write down the things that maybe you're good at that you don't want to do, right? And compare and then cross reference that with what does the business need right now, right? I mean, a lot of people are like, we need videos or we need marketing or we need this or we need that. And I'm not saying you don't. But when I talk with founders, I say, what do you need right now? It's never a new website, it's revenue, right? And so that was some of the best advice I ever got when I went on my own, which was don't buy a website, don't do a logo, don't do any of that. Go out and talk to 10 people every day about what you're doing and what and get some feedback. Do like live action market research. And I do that to this day because I like it. I like people. I'm good at it. And it's kind of my happy place. But when I coach Founders, that's what we talk about is go out and make phone calls. That's it. Your calendar, Tuesday through Thursday and part of Friday should be nothing but prospect meeting. That's it.
That is a true salesperson right there. I think that most, I mean, it's so true. It is so true. Like if you are not prospecting actively for your business, no one's going to just fall in your lap. You have to make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. And I think to your point, like some people have a very large allergic reaction to that. And so then we talk about here's what that looks like. And so I always talk with folks about that, right? It's not, you're not, a 20-year-old SDR in a data call center somewhere banging out phone calls. You are an established executive business person who has a ton of value to give. So 10 prospect conversations a day might be you going to the chamber. It might be you going to another activity. Find events and activities within 20 miles of your house and commit to going to 20 of those a month
Oh,
right now. And that's exactly the reaction a lot of people have. And so this is where I say have a plan. So now we start getting into specify and execute, which is if I'm a founder, what do I need to be doing? Right? Do I need a CRM system? Do I need a website? Do I need all these things? Yeah, but not right now. Right now, an Excel spreadsheet works. Email works. If you're on the Microsoft platform, like Microsoft PowerMate or whatever it's called, works. There are things that are out there that work. And so time box it. And so I give everybody something called the Revenue by Design annual plan. And in there, it talks about you're allowed to have 3 milestones a quarter. That's it.
three
Because
milestones a quarter. Are you typically seeing 10, 15 milestones in a quarter or like
huge. And because if it's, we need to hone our pitch, right? Or we need to hone our ICP demographic, whatever, that is one. Because everything we just said, like one person, maybe you've got the extrovert in the group and they can go to 2 or 3 events a week because you have to do the follow up, right? So it's really about what do we want out of this. And so this is what I mean when we talk about agile is take the next 3 months and do these activities that have a before, during, and after so that you're not things aren't falling through the cracks. Because I don't know about you, I'll look at my email and I'm like, I forgot to follow up with that person, that person, that person, that person, that person. Right. And I have a CRM system. So it's really about really being deliberate with the actions and motions you're doing.
and that ties into the execution part of
100%.
identify, specify, execute. So you
Yeah.
break it down into smaller bite-sized bits. But also the interesting part, like I think you're absolutely right. When you start to have a list of 15 projects long, you can't do really well in any of them. Like, so you're saying cut that down to 3 major projects a quarter and get really good at them, execute on one, then move on to the other? Or you recommend like concurrent projects?
They're going to change, right? But I think it's really about the focus at the end of the day and giving ourselves the dopamine hit of finishing something. That's what we're after. Otherwise, it just feels like one long day and we don't have anything to celebrate. But if I set a goal for myself that says I'm going to go to 10 networking events in the month of December is probably not a good idea, but January. I'm going to go to 10 networking events in January. My goal is to then throughout January and February have 3 powerful prospecting calls every day. That is what when we start getting specific, that is what we're doing.
Now, how do you do it? That's the
Well,
question.
then you go, right? Then it's like, well, okay, now then we go deep. Great. Where are you going to find your events to go to? Who do you know? Right. And so we start getting into the how at the end of the day. You can go to event, you can go to Meetup, you can go to Eventbrite, who's in your network that you know. I have colleagues of mine that we just swap events back and forth all the time, right? So put on your calendar that you are going to find, you're going to spend 1 hour on a Monday in November finding all of the events to go to throughout December and January. Like we get that granular because a lot of us, like we're so busy with all of the right things at the end of the day. At any given moment, I have 8 things competing for this minute of my time, which is why we're all stressed out all the time. So we narrow it down. If it's not on your calendar, it doesn't happen, it can't happen, and it shouldn't happen. So we get really granular.
It makes a lot of sense. Like, especially when you think about going deeper. Like, I
Yes.
think, I know for me, I definitely get super overwhelmed when I see
We do.
like, okay, this is a massive project that we have to do. And thank God I've been coached most of my career to know like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, break it down into smaller steps, and then the execution part makes it much easier. I love a checklist. I love like,
Yes.
okay, yes, got
Everybody
that.
does. Yes. Yes. Our
Yeah.
brain needs that. Our
Yeah.
brain needs that.
I
Yeah.
definitely need that because it makes me feel like, yes, I've accomplished something. I know I'm going towards a goal. How do you find when you're talking to, I've fallen prey to this. I'm doing lots of things on my checklist, but it's not what I should be doing to move the business forward or to improve the sales process or to look at my KPIs. I'm doing stuff. So I feel like I've accomplished things. How do you realize if a founder has gone off on a road that is not productive or
Mm,
helpful to the bottom line of their business?
we kind of go back to what are your founding KPIs and how is that going?
Yeah, you can't escape those.
You really can't, right? And I think it's picking up on the emotion. And I'm doing a series of interviews right now for a client, and it's very, very apparent the folks who you talk to that are clear, grounded, and ready to go, and the folks that are frustrated or the folks that have something else on their mind. Like it's once you start dialing into it, it's pretty clear. And so in talking with founders, there's sometimes when folks are in that mode, there's literally like the Eeyore cloud that
Mhm.
happens. Yeah, and I get there too, like, we all do it, which is why I can recognize it, which
Sure.
is, all right, you're doing all the things, but you're not doing
You
the
have
thing.
You have a lead with soul. What's it? What do you call it? The sales with soul. I assume that that has a lot to do with emotional communication, emotional capacity to understand what your clients and your employees are going through. Is that
Yeah,
what? How do you sell with soul?
yeah, you're not a jerk at the end of the day, and there is no red pen, blue pen BS. Sorry, I would swear, but I don't know if I should. So,
You
I
can
only swear.
swear. I like I like the swear word.
Makes me nuts. So the sales whistle workshop that we take people through literally starts with the 10 irrefutable laws of being a sales professional. And the very first law is treat it as a profession. Do you consider yourself a sales professional or are you a rep? And I've literally had people rise to that and promote to VP throughout their career. And I've had people go, tap and I'm out. I don't want to be a sales professional. Okay. That's okay. You do you. Go life. We are on this planet way too long if we do it right to be doing something that sucks the soul out of us. And so that is what Sales with Soul is about. I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of operationalizing what the hell does that mean? So when people are like, you got to put your oxygen mask on before you can put anybody else's on, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means. Right. So how do I balance the need that I have to serve others with the need I have to care for myself so that I don't perish in the process? Help me understand that. That's what Sales with Soul is about. So it's about Sales with Soul and Lead with Soul are both about raising the awareness we have in the role we're in so that we can show up the very best way we can to serve others without losing ourselves. Because there's nothing else out there that's doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people will think that that's probably too woo-woo for them, and they're like, "Okay,
Right?
I can't do that." Just like you said, they just tap out, like, "I'm done. This is not for me."
Yeah.
But I really think that when you bring your full self to anything that you're doing, but especially in sales, because
Yeah.
sales is a trust game. People have to trust you, and they're not going to trust you if they don't like you. And they're not going to
Yes.
like you if you're not authentic.
Yes.
So I think that really bringing yourself, your full self, and unapologetically yourself to a sales role will inevitably help your sales and help the organization.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with that, Philippe, is too, is that when we do that, we recognize that it's not about us and it is about us all at the same time. And our role is to balance that healthy tension. And quite frankly, I don't care if somebody likes me or not. You know why? Because when I do my job right, they feel heard and it's about how the client feels.
Mm. That's always
I
hard
want
for me.
I want them to feel heard, because I can't tell you how many times, and that's woo woo for some people, right? And so this is where all of this starts converging, where we'll start doing some scenarios and things of that nature. We start listening to phone calls, or we'll break down a meeting and stuff. And I am very hyper rational, which is what makes all of this so funny. So I'm pursuing my positive intelligence coaching certification. And for those of you who haven't read Positive Intelligence yet, I love it. It's great. And it harmonizes these things of the woo woo with the non woo woo, right? And to your point, positive intelligence talks about the saboteurs we all have. And we all start with our judge. And our saboteurs are there to keep us safe and alive prior to age 7. If we over index on those things, they cause the ego and the maniacalness that are prevalent right now in our society, and the rampant narcissism that has been widely overused as a label. But that's where we live, right? Right. So if I see somebody else out taking selfies, and I lose my mind at the end of the day. I get it and I don't get it all rolled into one. Where we want to be operating is our sage brain of being able to really see and understand people. I don't need somebody to look at me and say, hey, Dionne, I want to have a conversation with you and give you space. I will take as much space as I need. What I need right now is for you to hear what I'm saying and not saying. But I also need to be able to articulate to somebody right now, I need an emotional response versus a hyper rational response. If the software I bought is breaking, I don't need somebody telling me that it works on my machine. I need somebody to tell me, like, hey, walk me through what you're seeing. Let's do a screen share, because I get the fact that my software breaking is probably fucking with your life. That is the writing, followed by, now I need you to fix it.
Where do you stand in terms of AI in the sales process? Because I feel like one thing that AI is definitely not good at is emotions and understanding human emotions. And when a lot of these companies that we're working with, they are implementing a lot of AI solutions into their businesses, and we're helping them do that. But there's an emotional lack in a lot of these tools. Where do you stand with AI in the sales process?
Yeah. So I think a couple of things. One, back to our previous conversation about balancing the woo-woo with a non-woo-woo really quick.
Mm-hmm.
This is also a good component that I have taught in my sales whistle and lead whistle workshops now for, I don't know, 10 plus years. The conversational rhythm that will save our bacon every time when we feel ourselves getting caught up in the emotion of a conversation is the AAA approach, which is acknowledge, address, and advance.
Yep.
I acknowledge.
It sounds like you're really, really upset.
Yes. So let's address that, because I'd like us to move forward when and how it makes the most sense, right? So there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, but I wanted to make sure I shared that with everybody. I think when it comes to AI, a colleague of mine said this, and then I agree. And a fool with a tool is still a fool. And I think for organizations that have guidelines and guardrails for what they're trying to do with AI, and it's part of a process, there's a roadmap for it. It doesn't have to be specific, but it does need to be identified. I think it's fantastic. I think the more you can use AI to eliminate admin work, the more you can free up people to critically think about things, I think the better off we're going to be. The rule I have for people who are using AI is, if I have to click more than 3 times, you're wrong. I mean, that's egregious, right? But if I have to click, or if anybody has to click more than 3 times, is there a better way? Maybe it's a
You're
nicer way.
talking specifically in like an email situation?
I'm talking about AI in general, right? And so, because AI is fantastic, if you've identified bottlenecks in your company that can automate or speed up something, and you've identified a way that AI can help you move the needle on something, measure it, right? Like really, really identify, specify, and execute. It doesn't go away at the end of the day. It's really about, I've identified something, I think it's going to work great. Use the scientific hypothesis method here, and to really determine if what we have is a good idea or not. Because there's a lot, there's just an article I was reading the other day where, one of the big consulting firms was building out the AI agents and all that jazz, and the team replaced themselves. So now people are out of a job. So people don't need the what, they need the how, Philippe. We need critical thinking, right? God bless it. My daughter started the car in the garage with the garage door was open. But seriously, like, come on. We're not going to start the car in the garage with or without the door open. Does she know that? No, because she's 16, right? But fast forward that to folks that maybe don't have the depth of experience. Maybe they have 5 years of experience too. AI isn't going to give you the experience of somebody who's been doing something for 20 years. So I love it. I think people should use it. I think you should use it smartly to build your business.
You have a 5C framework.
I
What
do.
do I think?
Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
I think that there's a lot of amazing applications for AI. It's not at the point where you can just let it go and trust it. We're not at
No,
that point.
it's a tool.
And that's why one of our core tenets of our business is that it's human centered. Like the
Yeah.
human has to be in the loop. The human has to approve it. They have to oversee it. And the other thing is like you have to have a strategy. You can't
Yes.
just apply an AI agent to one of your tools and just expect that it's going to transform your business. It has to be a
Exactly.
holistic approach. It has to be. Yeah, and you have to have somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's a mess. It can be a total
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I agree with you. I think AI can be it's a very, very powerful amplifier. And if you have junk, it's going to amplify junk. And if you don't, it's going to be great. It can be awe-inspiring and wonderful, right? But yeah, it definitely needs to be used appropriately.
I think that the exciting part about it is that people who lack a specific skill, they can shore up some of that skill
Hmm.
using some AI tools.
100%.
I think that's
Yes.
super valuable, especially if you're
Yeah.
trying to bootstrap a company
Yeah.
from the beginning. You
Yeah.
can't hire. You don't have the funds. You don't have the resources to hire a marketing person, a sales op person, a bookkeeper, all of these things. So you're going to have to do a lot of that on your own. I think having, and just like we talked about earlier, like some of my strengths, I'm not an operations guy. That's my co-founder,
Mhm.
and both of us are not great at one thing or another, but we can use AI to help supplement that. And
Correct.
eventually, we'll start hiring for
100%.
those positions to hire our weaknesses.
Yeah, absolutely, Felipe. I mean, that's exactly it. At the end of the day, I use it to create the pages I have to create and go high level. And I find somebody on Upwork to create it because it makes me want to cry every time I have to do anything marketing related. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh Lord, I just it makes me do that. So I agree with you. I think we're kind of back to identify, specify, execute, right? Which is identify what you need and how, and is this something that I can or should be doing? And if it's
I
not,
do.
how can I get it done?
I really do like that framework: specify, identify, execute, and changing the language around KPIs are not the same as metrics. If anybody got anything from this podcast, I think that is probably one of the number one things I got. It's like they're
Yeah.
not exactly the same.
They're not, they're not. So it's kind of funny when I talk with clients, like, all right, walk me through your numbers. And, the dashboard comes up and there's 20 some odd widgets in there. I'm like, and I ask them, I ask questions and I go, what am I supposed to take away from this? What do you think I hear? What does this show you? What action do you take with this? What are the top 3 actions you take with this? If I'm coming in as a fractional C, what am I learning from this stuff? And it's not that, again, nobody's doing anything wrong, but the checkbox isn't create a dashboard. The checkbox is understand our numbers so that we can make better decisions.
Well, Dion, if somebody wants to work with you, what's the best way to get hold of
Yeah, the best way is I am on LinkedIn is the best way to do that. You can also go to my website. So I'm on LinkedIn as Dionne Mejer. My website is revenue-bydesign.com. You can submit a form there, or reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can set up some time.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time. And I think it's a really important framework to have for a good sales team. So thank you very much for coming on board.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I hope your listeners get some good nuggets out of this.
I think they will. Thank you.
Thanks.